Hello and welcome back to Love It Film. My name is Jamie, and if you were here for Charles Baker, you were in the right place. Breaking Bad, one hell of a show. We recently had RJ Mitte on the show, and to have another alum from one of the best shows in the history of TV is an honor for me. Now, Skinny Pete, one of the funniest characters in the show. I mean, whether it be him playing the piano or doing the Star Trek script with Badger, he's just a beloved character. He came back for El Camino. Charles was also in a lot of other shows, whether it be Grimm, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, or most recently, The Mandalorian. We just had Mando on the other week with Brendan Wayne, so we have another person from The Mandalorian too. Charles played a character called Survivor Scout, which was one of the Mandalorians, which is very, very cool. He got to wear the jetpack and stuff like that. So anyway, let's get talking to Charles Baker. Charles, I just curious, first of all, do you go by Charlie or Charles?
My friends call me Charlie. Charles is my registered SAG Screen Actor Guild name. So if you're signing a paycheck, Charles, but otherwise Charlie's fine.
All right, can I call you Charlie?
Yeah, absolutely, Jamie.
Awesome. Now, Charlie, first of all, you've been in loads of different things. I mean, whether it be Breaking Bad, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Grimm, The Mandalorian, Lethal Weapon. I'm, while researching you, I've actually seen your face so many times without realizing it because first of all, big fan of yours from Breaking Bad is Skinny Pete. It's such a memorable character. It's like such a memorable show, but all your performances are different, and the word I'd use for them is memorable. They're so different and interesting. I mean, before I can ask you a million questions about any one of these roles, but how did you get into acting yourself?
It's there are so many different ways it kind of happened. I mean, I just love performing. I was a gymnast when I was a child. I did a lot of sports. I liked getting uh I don't know, the attention I think that being a performer got. Um, I had a rather tumultuous childhood, and a lot of times in schools, the theater teachers, the art teachers were the ones who took me under their wings and kind of became my surrogate parents everywhere I lived. And I think that had a big influence on it. I started in musical theater, and that's what I really loved. I was singing, dancing, and a little bit of acting involved. And I was doing that, and then in college, had a professor asked me to do a straight play, and I didn't see the value in that at first until I did it, and I became just completely in love with just the losing yourself in your imagination. And uh it, I liken it to when you're home alone singing in the shower, the sheer joy you get from just like letting loose and not knowing nobody is around to judge you, and nobody's listening to this, and the echo in the shower makes you feel like you're Pavarotti. um that's the same kind of feeling I get when I'm really in the moment as an actor. um and once I found that, I mean, it's like religion to me. It's my church, it's my meditation. And I just decided, let's try it, and see where it goes. And Breaking Bad happened, and it just worked out pretty well. So
Yeah, and nowadays you're going around dressed as a Mandalorian as well in Star Wars. I mean that's incredible. I mean, while researching you, I went back and rewatched your episodes in Mandalorian season 3, and just so cool. We recently last week on our show Love It Film, we had Brendan Wayne on as a guest, who of course is like the main actor with Pedro being Mando. As you know. And he was telling me that the Mandalorian jetpack is like a really heavy bag of water, like an uncomfortable school bag. Did you have a similar experience when you were on it?
oh yeah, yeah, that the full Mandalorian armor, wardrobe, probably weighs about 25 pounds altogether with the jetpack and the helmet and the pauldrons and everything that they add onto. Um, and it's very restricting. It's very and really heavy. They actually build a harness into an undershirt. You wear an undershirt underneath all of that stuff, and there's a harness built into that that everything attaches to, so it doesn't just all pull your costume off because it's just hanging. um, because it's just hanging onto your shirt. Um, and I mean, it was a heavy process to go through. There's usually two you had usually had two costume magicians. They were like cosplay wizards who were their job was to dress you and help you put on all of this stuff. And like um kind of laugh because all the Mandalorians are all loners, but like there's no way they could put on that stuff without having at least one assistant.
Yeah.
Like you can't reach those your boots with you got all that other stuff on, and it's really kind of interesting. Probably one of the hardest like physical demanding jobs I've ever had, but uh, it was cool.
It was definitely cool. And I mean, in terms of a role to get going into a show like The Mandalorian, being a Mandalorian is kind of like the best part you could get in a way because you can really be in it. You know, I mean, what were those sets like for us fans watching the show? I mean, it looks incredible when it comes out, but what were you acting on? Like when it was on that ship going through and stuff like that? I mean, like what was it, a sound stage or what? Talk us through. What was it like?
Well, we were on what's called the volume,
Oh, right.
which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
rear projection, digital screens that really created a full dome of theater around you, um, and they they projected the scene that we were in, um, and it's I mean it's amazing. Like the whole experience for me, I'm childhood Star Wars fan. Um, and 10 years prior to being on The Mandalorian, I actually told my managers I would love to be in the Star Wars universe, and they were like, "Oh, okay, well, we'll try." Um, and so the whole experience was surreal to me. I felt like it was the first time I'd ever been on a movie set. I was so overwhelmed by, stormtroopers and little fake explosions going off and having Grogu sitting next to me and
What
just
was
looking
Grogu
at
weird?
him.
Because I know as an animatronic puppet, he really is moving around. Did you like forget he wasn't real while you were around him?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Wow.
Because when we were between takes, and I was just standing, next to Grogu, and I, you know, just kidding around, just kind of went, "Hey, Grogu, how's it going?" And he was still being operated by, um, and so he actually turned and looked at me and gave me a nod, and I was just like, "Oh, wow." And it's like from then on, it was just like, this is a person I am talking to. This is like this is another actor I'm working with. Um, and I
Wow.
spent as much time trying to force scenes between he and I as I could whenever I could.
Man, as a lifelong Star Wars fan, I'm so jealous. That is honestly so unbelievably cool. I mean, as I mentioned at the beginning of the interview, you know, I first saw came into or found out about your acting from Breaking Bad and your character Skinny Pete and how you can take a character like that where he wouldn't be, say, in every episode, he wouldn't be in every single main plot, but he's so memorable, as I said. When you were doing those early episodes of Breaking Bad, it wasn't the Breaking Bad people know. It wasn't this global phenomenon. From what I've heard, it was hard to keep the show on. And I think what I've heard as well, you even made your own character's name yourself, just improvising it. Is that how it happened?
No, not my name.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
Yeah. What I loved about that was I came in as skinny stoner.
Right.
Like, we auditioned, there were supposed to be like three of us. It wasn't just going to be, at first it was just Skinny Pete and Combo when in our first episode. What they had originally auditioned for was skinny stoner, um, a chubby stoner, and a tattooed stoner. It was going to be three stoners that were going to be hanging out with Jesse in that scene. Um, and I read for the skinny stoner, but I showed up wearing um, a shirt that revealed my tattoos. And I did the first audition, and then I got a call back a few days later, but they had changed the script so it was only two stoners. They were now a skinny tattooed stoner and a chubby stoner. Um, and so I went in skinny tattooed stoner and luckily got that part. Um, and that was how I was listed in the script. You know, you would have Jesse says a line, and it said skinny stoner says a line. Um, and then when we got to the episode where I introduce Aaron Paul Aaron Paul to Tuco, um, when we go up to a security guard, is the first time I announced, "Yo, man, I'm Skinny Pete." And after that, in the script, it said Skinny Pete instead
Okay.
of Skinny Stoner. And that immediate change, like suddenly now I have a name, and this is the name you have now from now on.
And now you have a character too, so like you
And
could be added back
yeah,
into future episodes.
yeah, that was kind of like the other thing is like I have a name, which was, you know, I'd done co-star kind of a few co-star roles where it was just, you know, truck driver or, you know, waiter or photographer, you know, man standing in the corner, thug number three. But this guy, like, he had an actual name, and um that meant something, as far as I knew. I was still really new in this business, and I was working out of Fort Worth, Texas. I didn't have a lot of, like, Hollywood knowledgeable friends, so, um, as far as I knew, according to the ancient lore of Actors Studio, inside the Actors Studio, character having a name meant, "Hey, there's potential." And so I was so excited just to have a name that I could go by, and to hope that they don't kill me off, and luckily they didn't.
Exactly. I mean, and Breaking Bad is always open, you know. I mean, Vince is making always making something new, whether it be when you came back for El Camino or, I mean, I know you didn't come back for Better Call Saul, but there's always ways if your character doesn't die to come back, which is cool. We had the opportunity as well to talk to another Breaking Bad alum, RJ Mitte, who was on the show a couple of weeks ago. Fantastic, fantastic human being, you know. And he was saying that a lot of the time you guys were just, as in the cast, were always breaking character. It was always so hard to stay serious, even though it's such serious subject matter. I mean, you guys were cracking up all the time. I mean, was that true for you as well?
Yes. I mean, I had the best time. Um, I wouldn't I felt like my role was in a very precarious place the whole time. I wasn't sure. I didn't have any kind of resume to back me up. I didn't have a fan base. And w- One of the producers was honest enough to let me know that, like, every episode I did was my audition for the next episode. Um, you know, out of 62 episodes, I believe, for the whole series, I was in 15 of them, you know, and none of them were guaranteed. I was hired to do one episode, and it was just kind of fate that kept bringing me back.
Yeah.
A lot of times, you know, an actor will get hired, a guest star will get hired, and it'll be you're guaranteed 5 episodes, or you're guaranteed 4 episodes somewhere in this 10 episode run. Um, I was not that at that place. I was still being hired as what you call a day player, which is like a step above being a featured extra.
Okay.
Um, And so, yeah, I mean, there's somewhat of a hierarchy, you have
Right, that's so
your
interesting for us as like viewers. We wouldn't think it. We're just like, you can't get rid of Skinny Pete. I mean, he's
yeah,
one of the funniest characters in the show. I thought your character and Badger, you guys brought light to a dark world. And we made it so
yeah,
lighthearted.
yeah. That was, the genius of the writing. They just wrote the character so well. Um, and the fact that Matt Jones and I were able to just connect to the characters and really just give them something the audience loved. I think part of it was a little fluke. I think a lot of our scenes that were some of our most famous favorite scenes were scenes that were meant to be kind of just white noise
Yeah,
that happened while we focused on Jesse's emotional journey. And a
yeah.
lot of those scenes, it's Jesse sitting there brooding in the corner while
You guys are talking about Star Trek or something.
yeah, we're banging on about Star Trek or
But do you
uh
remember a time when Breaking Bad, when you suddenly realized, oh my God, this is one of the most watched shows in every country of the planet, as in this is incredibly famous. Do you remember that moment?
it wasn't until late. It wasn't until like season 5 that it
Mm.
really started dawning on me. The interesting thing is like here in the US, the East Coast and the West Coast, Breaking Bad was the biggest thing. And in the middle, it was known, but I didn't in Texas, I didn't really, I could walk around and not nobody would notice who I was and nobody, cared. But then I went to LA and just tried to walk around with Aaron Paul and Matt Jones, and everywhere we went, we got like it was like the Beatles almost, it was just they were but I was usually like I would get kind of pushed to the side and then Matt or Aaron would go, "Hey, that's Skinny Pete." And people would turn to me and suddenly they would like crowd around me too. And it became a completely different like holy shit. Um
Yeah.
this is actually happening. And we knew from the beginning that it was a good show. We knew that it was an amazing show. How the audience was going to react, we had no idea. We just kept like when you're doing something like that and you're just like working with such great actors and such great writing and such amazing crew, you just like go with it and like just keep doing your best and then hope the studios and the audiences eventually catch on. I think we're fortunate we were on a network that wasn't normally showing any kind of series like that, or any kind of series at all. And so they gave us more opportunities than most networks would have canceled us probably after the first, maybe the second season. Um, we would have been canceled pretty heavily, but AMC just let us keep going despite the low numbers at first. And then once we hit Netflix and binge watching became a thing, it really changed the dynamic. And so season 3, it really started going. People really started like recognizing the show. And then when I came out for the first time to LA, I came out to for a premiere of season 4. Um, and my first experience in Hollywood, I got out of my car and paparazzi jumped out behind out in
Wow.
the parking garage and started taking pictures. And I was like, wow, this is not, your normal experience for an actor being in LA for the first time. Um, and it was crazy. It was fun. So yeah, it kind of crept up on us. We knew we were on a great show. We didn't know how or if the audience was gonna agree. So
I get you, and you could argue now, like you mentioned, Netflix is probably now bigger than it ever was. Sorry for the interruption. If you are enjoying this video, why not leave a like, subscribe to the channel, click the bell notifications, rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Follow us on all our socials at Love It Film. Help us grow so we can keep giving you guys interviews like this or many of the other interviews. We've interviewed people from GTA, Red Dead Redemption 2, Fallout, Dexter, you name it. More coming right here on Love It Film. More and more people are finding the show now than ever before. And if you looked at the view hours alone on Netflix or something like that, in the millions of billions of hours, I mean, why do you think that is? Why do you think that, like, to this day, Breaking Bad is still one of the most popular shows in the world? And it ended in 2013. It's insane how, like, new people are saying, oh, I'm obsessed with this show, Breaking Bad.
well, there's no other show like it. As many shows I've worked on, it was like, yeah, we're gonna try and do a Breaking Bad thing. Like, no, you can't because it was original. Um, a big part of it is the main theme of Breaking Bad. Besides, uh, watching a good guy turn into a bad guy and seeing if, kind of an experiment to see if an audience would actually follow someone like that. The other main theme of Breaking Bad was the tragedy of what is American healthcare, the American healthcare system, and none of that has changed. It's gotten worse. And it's so everybody recognizes it. You can watch shows, um, you know, at the time it was Sopranos. You have, White Lotus, and all these shows that are um, about rich, wealthy people that a majority of Americans will never actually be. It's really hard to relate. Sopranos. Not very many of us really know someone who's in the mob and who works for the mob family and knows what it's. They don't recognize that. They don't see that in their everyday life. Almost everybody in America knows somebody who's been affected by drugs. They know somebody who's been bankrupted by this medical industry, um, and uh, and so they can relate. They get it. And I I have kids in high school now coming up to me going, "Yeah, my parents watched it when I was a little kid, and I remember like watching it, but I didn't really understand, and so I now watched it, and it's like it's my favorite show." And like, um, and it just keeps building every time a new audience, comes of age. They check it out because they saw the previous generation talking about it and enjoying it so much, and yeah, and it's amazingly written. That's why. It's my opinion.
And amazingly acted by all of you people. One
Oh,
thing I
thank you.
wanted to really compliment you on too is that episode. I think it was season 5, where you and Badger are in the music store, Matt Jones, and then Skinny Pete just randomly starts whacking out this amazing piece of music on the piano. I heard that this was actually you playing and you prepared this. That is incredible.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love tinkering on the piano. I took one piano lesson, and then we couldn't afford them. And then in college, I was a voice major, and I had to have a secondary instrument as part of the requirements for my major. So I took class piano lessons, which was sitting in a class. But a lot of times, I mean, since I was 7, 8 years old, if I got around a piano, I would just tinker on it and play with it. And I'd learn from, people would teach me songs, and knew how to read music. Um, and so I would kind of pick out a song and learn how to play it and then memorize the music and not have to worry about reading the music anymore. Um, and that just became a thing I love to do. And so when I had the opportunity to do it on TV, I was like, "Wow, this is amazing." Um, you understand? Like that was my first piano recital in front of an audience. Was on national television on the biggest breaking, the biggest TV show in the history of television. That was my very first piano recital, and I was so excited to do it and thrilled to be able to do it. Um, mm, yeah, it did. Everyone was like, "Oh wow, he's an amazing pianist." I'm like, "Whoa, hold on, hold on." I, I worked hard on trying to not screw that one up.
No, you did
But
amazing. And as you said, in terms of an
thanks.
audience, you have millions of people now on Netflix always finding that going, whoa, Skinny Pete, he's really, really talented, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Your wardrobe in the show, while researching you, Charlie, I heard that you did ask to keep Skinny Pete's hat, the beanie, but they said to you that it was going to end up in the Smithsonian in a museum. What happened there?
Um, I don't know that it ended up in the Smithsonian. They told me that, it was on hold in case, because there was stuff going to the Smithsonian. Um, I mentioned that to Giancarlo Esposito, who plays Gus,
Yeah.
uh, at a convention, and he said, "Dog, they'll always tell you that." He said, "Next time, don't ask permission." Um, and so when we did El Camino, actually, when we started El Camino, I went, "Hey guys, you need to make extra hats because one of them is coming home with me this time." And so I had the El Camino beanie. Um, but yeah, they only had two. I mean, it was, I wasn't supposed to be on this show. They only had two copies of that beanie. Um, and they went out of, they were purchased from a store, and that was the only two they had. And so, um, when the show ended, I'm not normally a thief. A lot of actors talk about, I steal stuff from the set, and they're like, you know that that may, come out of the executive producer's pocket, but may also come out of the wardrobe department's pocket too. And I would hate to put the wardrobe department in that, situation.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna steal props and stuff. The memorabilia I have from shows is stuff that was gonna be thrown away. And then I'm like, hey, I'll hang on to that. Um, but yeah, so when the show was done, I was like, "Hey, do I get to keep the beanie?" And they're like, No, no." And many, many, many actors have told me since, "Man, never ask. If you want something, just take the
Just
damn
take it.
thing." Yeah. And at least I gave the warning for El Camino. It's like, guys, I am taking this hat. So they made several they made several versions of it so that Aaron Paul could continue wearing it after I handed him over one, and then I took one with me. And
I'm so glad you got to keep one. It should be your hat, you know. I mean, El Camino too. I loved that scene at the end, your final scene where when you go up to Jesse and you say, and Jesse's like, "Hey, Skinny, why are you doing this?" And you're like, "Dude, you're my hero and shit." And it's just such a, dude. You could that one sentence you delivered gave 1,000 words. The expression on your face is like, "Whoa, he actually idolizes Jesse." It was wow for you going back for El Camino those years later. What was the emotional significance to you to sort of have this little bit of an extra ending for Skinny Pete?
I loved it. I really did. I loved how Breaking Bad ended, how the series ended. Um, and I thought, if Vince Gilligan was going to continue it, he would only do it if he really felt it, was had a purpose. If he wouldn't just make it as a money grab, he wouldn't just, try and so I was like, I don't necessarily know how he could do it, but I'm sure if he does do something after, that he'll do it right and he'll do it tastefully. Um, and then when they asked me if I would do it, they, showed me the script, and I read, all of that, and read that scene, and um, I was in immediately. Um, yeah, because it gave Skinny Pete, who had already been given, a little bit of depth with that piano scene. I feel it gave him a lot more depth, and it gave him also a lot more closure than just being, the one of the best hitmen this side of the Mississippi. Um, you
That's such a
know,
cool line.
yeah.
I rewatched it. I've seen all of Breaking Bad, like some ridiculous, like 5 times, But I rewatched that scene just in prep for the interview, and it's always such a cool line from Bryan Cranston. I mean, what was it like working with Bryan Cranston on the show? As in, he's a really funny guy. Malcolm in the Middle. I mean, was he cracking you up?
All the time. Yes. He was he was he was fun and professional, and those are two things I really love about working with actors. He was like a father figure to everyone on the set, and he was a prime example of what a good lead actor should be, and that is a good leader. He sets the example for everyone else. How everyone else gets treated on that set, um, really kind of weighed on him, and he was like the the epitome of what you want out of a leader, out of somebody who's, the captain of the ship. Calm, cool, collected, uh, but just insanely funny, fun and humane, and just kind. He had it all. He has it all. He still does. And yeah, it was amazing to get to work with and to learn from him. If I wasn't doing my scenes, I was standing behind the camera watching him do his scenes and learning as much as I possibly could from him. And a lot of what I do still is thanks to him. So yeah, I'm thrilled to be able to. Go
Incredible. I
ahead.
mean, he's just such an amazing. I mean, you're all just such amazing actors. So you get so immersed in the show, and like you really believe a character like Skinny Pete. That last line, as I said, where he's in El Camino, when he walks away and he gets into Jesse's car, you're like, oh, I actually care about him. What's going to happen with his character? And wow, just a huge fan of it. It's just incredible. I just want to ask too, with the Mandalorian, you did have that reunion with Giancarlo. I know you didn't have any scenes with him in the show, but you of course run into him on cons and stuff like that. Was that cool? A Mandalorian seeing John Carlo on set as Moff Gideon. You're like, this is a weird kind of reunion.
Yes, yes, it is. I I've loved I've been a fan of his since a movie called Taps. Um, I was a military brat, and so watched a lot of military kind of movie stuff because that's what my dad would take me to. Taps, he and like Sean Penn and Tom Cruise, they were all like teenagers when they shot that movie, and for some reason, Giancarlo's performance stood out to me like above the rest, and so just being on a show with him, one show with him, was like I was giddy. And then of course, he comes to the Mandalorian too. And I got on that and I was just like, this is like uh, what bigger compliment? I mean, he's one of the best freaking actors on the planet, and to be able to get like to work two shows with him is like that's a dream. It's a huge compliment. It's like, wow, I get to stand over. And it's funny is, it's another show about a middle-aged guy and his adopted kid taking down Giancarlo Esposito's empire.
It's crazy. It's crazy how you can actually find a connection, but it's there, I mean,
Yeah.
it's such a good show too. I can imagine being in The Mandalorian is just so fun. I mean, I know John Favreau didn't direct the episodes you were in, but was John Favreau or Dave Filoni, were they on set while those episodes were being filmed?
Always, always. They came
Wow.
in and they approved every new costume, every new character. One of my favorite parts of shooting every episode, all of the episodes I did, was every day before we started shooting a scene. Typically, John Favreau and Dave Filoni and Rick would kind of go through the lore of the moment that we're having, and would just go really in depth, especially with Katie Sackhoff there, who's, has been Bo-Katan since Bo-Katan was created, going through the lore of the Mandalorians. And like, it was almost like a short podcast of just Star Wars Star Wars experts giving you all the info. And so yeah, they were hands on every day. Almost every day that I was there. And we're just so uh, they love the material so much. They love they care so much about the Star Wars universe, and that whole um the canon, and they're into it, and like they're just it was like, again, it was like going to church.
Star Wars
Listening
church.
to them, it was like Star Wars church, just listening to them give you the full rundown, and all the backstory and all of this stuff that um it's not necessarily on any of the pages. And it was amazing. It was really cool.
Wow. I mean, like, again, like, I don't know if you would have met him on set, but the late great Carl Weathers, I mean, on that show
Mhm.
too, it's just the names just keep flying
Yeah.
with that show. Did you get to meet Carl?
I met him in passing because he was preparing to direct an episode while I was shooting an episode. And so I just kind of got to see him, and like, oh, I love your
How's it going?
work.
Yeah, I like Rocky or
Just
something.
love doing Rocky. And he had a an amazing career, and was also just one of those actors that you just look up to and just like hope you can be anything like what they were. Um, and, got a lot of inspiration in this biz. So
Wow. Another question for you, just about the Mandalorian. We're gonna
yeah.
mix that a little bit with Breaking Bad. If Skinny Pete ended up in the universe of Star Wars, where do you think he would go? What planet maybe would he want to stay on? Who would he be hanging out with?
Oh, he'd probably be on Tatooine. He'd probably
Yeah.
be in the dive bar at Tatooine with, Credo and all those guys. And he was probably in the bathroom when Han shot first. Um,
Oh
so
man. Another thing, it just was considering you're actually someone who would have seen this prop up close. I was always curious with Breaking Bad. Was the blue meth? I mean, what was that made of? Was that, because you can see like in scenes where it's being crushed and stuff. What was that?
hold on one sec. Let's see.
No
This
way!
this stuff right
Wow.
here. Okay. What it is cotton cl- cotton candy flavored uh rock uh candy. It's just sugar. Um
Is that the real thing? Is that from the show?
yes. Yes, it
Oh my
is.
God! Wow,
Mm.
that is insane. That's probably what you're eating right now is probably priceless. No, definitely priceless.
God.
Does it taste
They
good at
still
least?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's a store in Albuquerque called the Breaking Bad store, and they still sell it in little baggies. You can get it there.
That is so
It's
cool.
really good, kind of addictive. And I've given away a bunch, but this is my last stash of it. But they had it in giant plastic bins just
Mm,
filled with that stuff. Um, and so yeah,
that is so cool.
it's one of our favorite snacks. Uh,
That's
it's good stuff.
unbelievably cool. Charlie, just before I let you go too, my brother is a part of the team and he's a huge Breaking Bad fan like me. He just wanted to say hello. Carl, you can pop in and just say hello to Charlie here. You can listen to him here.
Hey Charlie, what's up?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm Carl. I'm the editor on the show. Big fan.
Oh, thanks.
I'm actually rewatching at the moment. I'm on the episode where you're giving Jesse the address, and you're saying I can't be all that spell and shit. It's brilliant scene, man. Thanks so
Thanks.
much for coming on the show. I know we're over time, so I'll keep it short.
That's all
Uh,
right, Carl.
And you're, is it a 5 or an S thing? It's just hilarious. But yeah, thanks, man. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Carl.
I'm gonna have a blast editing this later.
Right on, right on.
Thanks,
It was
man.
really nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
You just made my bro Carl's day, Charlie. Thanks so much. And mine as well, by the way. I'm such a huge fan. Like, I mean, as I told you, rewatching the show so many times, and rewatching a lot of your specific 15 episodes as well. It's just been such an honor, man, and just been great to talk to you. And as people say, like, demystify acting and like sort of showing people like us what it's like to be in these amazing things, whether it be Breaking Bad, whether it be, I know you've been in Grimm, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, The Mandalorian, as we talked about. I mean, you're awesome, man, and I can't thank you enough for coming on.
Thank you so much. It's great talking to you, Jamie. Hope we can do it again sometime.
Oh, anytime.
Right on, right on.
Nice to meet you,
Thanks.
Charlie.
You too. Take care.
A huge thanks to Charlie Baker for coming on to the show today. Skinny Pete, man, Breaking Bad. So cool. He goes by Charlie, by the way. Charles is his actor name, Charlie is his, like, he said his friends call him Charlie, and then he let me call him Charlie, so
you're his friend now, officially?
Friends with Skinny Pete.
That's pretty cool.
You love Breaking Bad, right?
Dude, I've actually, I was rewatching it before we had RJ on the show there about 2 weeks ago or so. And man, it just never gets old. And I'm pretty sure I said this in the outro section for RJ's as well. But that show is probably one of the most rewatchable shows, I'd say, on the planet. And there's a reason for it. The writing is so good. In regards to Charlie's performance, that is also really memorable.
Skinny Pete, yo.
Yes, particularly I was watching season 2 there, I think it was season 3, where this is the part where, spoilers obviously if you still haven't seen Breaking Bad, but basically at this point in the story, Jesse just apparently crushed a junkie with a fridge. Obviously he didn't actually. The street thought that he actually crushed him with the fridge, and then Jesse's friends, the news gets around to Jesse's friends, and Skinny Pete's like to Walter, he's like, yo, did Jesse really do that? And
you didn't hear that from me.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it's like, wow.
Could you imagine if we got Bryan Cranston onto the show? What would you even say to him? It's like, Walter White, what was that like? That's just insane. The fact that we got RJ Mitte, who played Walter Jr., and now Charlie Baker, who played Skinny Pete, it's just so weird, but also amazing because, not just the Breaking Bad angle, he's also just such a great actor. I mean, you've seen Mandalorian season 3, and he's in episode 7 and 8. He's the scout survivor. He comes in. He has a Mando armor. He was talking in the interview, Chris. You didn't see this, but Charlie was saying, much like Brendan Wayne, it's like a backpack full of water. It's super. He said the whole costume was like 25 pounds.
Yeah, wow, it's cool. It's cool. Getting to hear how these like sets were run. Like even from Brendan last week.
The volume, as they say.
It's literally like they have these screens behind them, and they're really, particular about their practical costumes and stuff like that. And
Chris, you didn't see this again, man, but me and the viewers just experienced Charlie show me the blue meth. I actually forgot about this, but it's made of hard candy. So I asked him about it. I was like, "What's it made of?" And he had a tube in his office. He had a cool Beatles poster behind him as well, but he had a tube in his office where he took one out and he just ate it. And he was like, yeah, man, this is from the show. They had big buckets of it, and I just took loads.
Imagine he was just eating, an actual prop from set, and it wasn't rock candy. It was just, styrofoam. Or
he was saying as well, he wanted to keep the Skinny Pete beanie, and they wouldn't let him for the show. But he ended up getting his beanie from El Camino, which is very cool.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, no, that was actually also cool to see him in that as well. I wasn't expecting that. Like, that was a part of the promo for that movie as well, was that interrogation scene with him. And dude, that's cool. Was he in Better Call Saul?
No, he never showed up in Saul, but he showed up in El Camino, and of course Breaking Bad. And I just can't thank Charlie enough for coming onto the show today. As a Breaking Bad fan,
it was
very cool. So cool, In movie news, Chris, have you seen Scream 7?
No, I haven't seen Scream 7, but I can point you towards someone who has seen it, and I'm going to leave the room because I have not seen it.
All right, we have Bryan Cranston.
No, we do not have. We have Matthew Lillard. No, we have our brilliant editor and cameraman. AI Matthew Lillard. Yeah. We can't. We're gonna insert him here.
AI problem. Scream 7. Gotta say one thing. Spoilers, first of all. If you have not seen Scream 7, turn this video off. Or if you don't care, that's okay as well. Scream 7, I'll tell you what, you really want to... I'll tell you what I think real quick, all right? It was a really good film, but once again, I don't know what is wrong with Miramax, but at the end of, or Dimension, whoever makes it, at the end of these movies, the killers are terrible every single time. If that killer was Stu, it would have been great. It was not bad.
This was a strange one because the killers ruined the whole movie, I think. Especially like because it was such a good movie, and like presentation wise, it's perfect except for that one problem, for that one little thing.
Yeah.
I wrote a bunch of notes because I had a lot to say about it, because I was thinking about it a lot afterwards. And
sorry, Carl, if you're gonna be taking notes, I just want to eat some popcorn here.
I went into this very worried because I stupidly was on TikTok beforehand and saw a comment. A lot of people were spoiling the movie. And I saw a picture of one of the killers. It's been spreading all over the place, and but luckily I didn't really see their face. And we were going into it like I was saying, "Oh, I think I know who it is," and I'm just gonna pretend I didn't see anything, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah, finding out the killer in a Scream movie before you see the Scream movie, it would ruin it.
And that happened to me with Scream 5.
But you didn't actually get spoiled.
Yeah, that happened to me with Scream 5 as well. My favorite YouTubers, I feel wrong to call them that, but Red Letter Media. You know, when I watched that video a second time, it's hilarious. But so it turns out that I went in there thinking it was definitely Sydney's daughter that I saw in the picture. It turns out it isn't. It's Anna Kemp, some random...
I don't know their names, but it was some random blonde lady who was a mother. The neighbor.
The neighbor who's
some random dude who worked in an insane asylum.
It was the neighbor, and the neighbor that had like a creepy son who everybody was blaming, was calling Ghostface.
I knew he wasn't Ghostface. The minute he showed up, it was too obvious. You know what the big issue with it is? Who when they took off the masks, I was like, who are they?
Yeah, and
who are they? I don't remember.
The funny thing is that the movie actually comments on this in the second act or so, when one of the ghost faces dies and the main characters are like, and it's actually a meme spreading at them, they're like, who the fuck is that? And it's some random guy that Sydney gave a bad coffee to or something, or she just gave coffee to.
See, again, I forgot he was even a killer. I forgot there was three.
He had no screen time until his face was revealed. His hand was in a shot and he took a coffee. Or no, she looked at him and he did get a shot where he was just kind of like sour-faced. And we were like, all right, some bad guy.
Well, what is wrong with them, though? Why can't they make Matthew Lillard the Ghostface?
Let me structure this, right? So I said that we spent the whole movie enjoying it. It was fresh. The audience on our screen was like cheering for every little moment. When Gail came into the movie, by the way, we kind of forgot that she was supposed to be there somehow, right? When she came into the movie, everybody cheered. Everybody erupted in our screening, and I'm not going to say which cinema, but in Dublin, we all cheered. We were like, yeah, this is great. And, you know, it was perfect. And then, you know, the movie's kind of hinting that there's some sort of big AI thing possibly going on with Stu. They make a big twist where Stu kind of comes in very early in full face, you know, and he's on screen in a video call. I thought that was, when that happened, I was like, they're doing something different. It's weird, but they're doing something different, something fresh. He keeps popping up on screens wanting to taunt Sydney or Gail or whatever. And I said that, I'll just read what I wrote. It's the best way to do it. I said, the audience on the screen were cheering for Gail's entrance and big moments. It felt like a real fans-only event. But then the whole time we were sitting there to ourselves saying, please don't be AI. Please don't be AI. Like, please don't do the AI thing. Hopefully it's just, you know, it's a red herring. They're just kind of playing with it to say, like, maybe it's AI, but then it turns out it's a classic Scream fake out, like Scream 3 with the voices, you know, with Roman and the voices.
Scream 3 is the same plot, by the way.
Yeah. And I said the mental ward nurse, which is also one of the killers, by the way, who has one scene, right? He has a really cool story about Stu and hiding and being a John Doe. And we were like, this is great. The characters think it's AI, so they that must mean it's not AI. The movie's just saying, like, it's common sense. It's common sense writing almost. You know, you're leading the movie into something, but you're keeping the audience guessing, and the audience are like, no, the characters have it wrong. This isn't actually AI. Do you know? And I said at the end they even show AI cameos of previous killers, which, by the way, Emma Roberts should have been there.
They're missing a few ghost faces.
And I was thinking,
Where was Billy Loomis?
I was thinking in that moment, this is perfect. This is the big reveal. Stu is using AI to try and trick Sydney. He's showing all the previous killers, and then it's actually going to be Stu. That seemed to me to be the obvious choice for Kevin Williamson writing this, right? For the film.
Not just the obvious choice, but the only good choice.
Right.
So everything else is a bad choice,
Because
Kevin.
Gail even says, or Sydney says to Gail, could it really be Stu? And then you said this to me, you reminded me of this. Gail says, that would be the better story.
Yeah, I'll tell you the fundamental flaw in how he's writing these movies. He thinks just because it's more logical that it's better. Just because something makes more sense doesn't mean it's the better idea. Yeah. The better idea is the
The AI cameos were kind of poorly done. Anyway, it literally looked like they got them in front of a green screen for 2 seconds. They didn't even try to de-age them or anything like that.
It also makes no sense. How can you get AI of a person's voice if they were never actually an actor in the Scream universe?
Yeah, there's some random...
How can they get Billy Loomis's mom's voice?
They might be famous, but there's no clips of them talking or anything. But that's logic aside. Logic never played a part in these movies to begin with. Scream 3 had AI voices before they were even a thing, 30 years before they were a thing, right? So you can throw that aside, you can brush that off as long as you have a good ending. As long as you do the common sense thing and make it that it's actually Stu, right? That seems to me to be the obvious thing. You know, the terrible killers with terrible motives, stupid motives, they're insane because you know, there's no reason. They're just insane. Like, and I was thinking in that moment, what the fuck were you thinking, Kevin? I love you, but what were you thinking? Like, this is Scream. Take it seriously, you know? You just wasted Sydney's return on a Ghostface team of nobodies, right? You wasted Stu's return on a character that had one scene. Both characters. Well, she had two, I think, right?
Most forgettable scenes ever.
Right, and my big issue with it is that it ruins rewatchability, it ruins replayability, because the movie, you need to write these things with the fact in mind that, and with the strategy in mind that people are going to rewatch this and want to enjoy it a second time and a third time. And the movie is great in every other way, but it just gets ruined by that last thing. I said the worst thing about that annoyed me the most is that they wasted the song from the first Scream movie, Moby's First Cool Hive, to signal the end of Billy and Stu's massacre. Remember the song at the end with all the police cars? They wasted that on this when they could have wasted it on, you know, what we were just saying. It wouldn't have been a waste. It would have been perfect, you know. And I think Scream 8 should move forward into a Jamie Lee situation where Sydney's overprotective and paranoid, ready to fight anyone. And then he really comes back. If you look at Screams 1 to 3, there are also visible physical attributes and differences between each Ghostface. You know, in Scream 2, Billy's mother has a thing where she kind of keeps thumping everything.
Yeah.
She keeps running into stuff, and right, in this movie, they kind of just... It's like there's nothing about this.
There is nothing, and the fact of the matter is they wrote the whole story without the killers actually being known by the writers themselves. Yeah. And they just wrote who the killers were at the end.
Yeah,
it's very bad writing.
I think even Scream 6 had a uniqueness to the Ghostface. Like he did something different every kill. True. But in this, it's kind of like, I think Scream 4 had this issue as well, where the Ghostface is just kind of bland and kind of generic Ghostface. There's not really much going on to distinguish him from the other ones. And even in the trailer, they had this cool thing where he was sitting up and he was making all these weird breathing sounds.
Yeah.
Turns out that seems like just a trailer company must have edited that because he does nothing of that in the movie. No. Nothing like that. He's silent for the whole movie. We all said that McKenna Grace should have been one of them for sure. That
Yeah,
would have
if
been-
you had to make it somebody, make it her. But still wouldn't have been good if it was her. to be
No, but
honest.
it would have been a
It
better
would have been
choice.
good if she was being coerced by Stu. That's the only way that would have been good.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's it for Scream 7. I liked most of it, but not the ending.
It's a great movie with a really bad ending. Simple as.
Because I always want to be the guy.
We all wanted that.
Yeah.